Hello, and how's it going? Catchai here, and welcome to my video. So, there's lots of beginner tutorials here on YouTube for all the different DAWs, Reason included, but I've noticed with the beginner tutorials for Reason, they're quite comprehensive. Some of them span for hours. Some of them are done by people with rich accents, such as myself, just making it more annoying. So, sorry about that. I even saw one tutorial for Reason 12, and it spent an hour just talking about the drum machine for the first tutorial. And I was thinking that, look, that's pretty comprehensive, but I think beginners just want to get started. And the best thing for beginners to do is to just start simple and start with samples. Maybe a synth or two and a drum machine. What we're going to do is I'm going to try and keep a tutorial short. We're going to look at some of the features of Reason as a DAW, but not all. If there is specific things you would like to learn, then just leave a comment and we'll try and get around to it. I may do future videos, but this is for beginners that have never used Reason before and want to be able to build a track by watching a very short video. Basically, if you watch this, you're going to be able to make a really simple sample loop-based songs. Are we going to go over EQing, side chaining, master compression, mastering?
No.
We're going to keep it simple. Do you need a 24-bit sound card? No. You can just use the sound card that's on your computer to at this stage. Do you need a MIDI controller or MIDI keyboard? No. Everything I do today, I'm not going to touch the MIDI keyboard. I'm going to do everything with my mouse. You can bring up a keyboard that you can use the actual typing keyboard within Reason, but we're not going to do that. We'll make a melody some other way. Okay, so first of all, signing up to Reason. Once you've bought the DAW. Well, there's two main versions of it at the moment. If you have Reason 11 or Reason 10, or if something even earlier, this tutorial still applies to you. It's all fine and okay. It's just there's only going to be a few slight differences. But I'm going to assume that you either have Reason Plus and you're paying the subscription. It's a good subscription. Like, you get everything for $20 a month, or what, $200 a year. I know that may seem exy, but instead of buying it all outright, like, you get everything, all the instruments, and you get these wonderful sound packs. There's actually nothing wrong. Like, these sound packs are actually really, really good, where they combine a lot of the instruments together. They have different producers making really cool stuff. Once you've signed up, you've logged into Reason, you've gone through your preferences, you've selected your sound card. I'm not going to go through that with you. You can go to plenty of other videos if you're having trouble doing that. Most MIDI keyboards, Reason will pick it up, but Reason, it isn't the greatest for picking up a lot of different MIDI controllers. There is times where you're going to have trouble trying to install that stuff, and with some MIDI controllers, I got the Catchai MIDI mix, for instance. It's like a USB mixer. I ended up just taking it back. This is just your mouse to output. Now, it's got a bunch of effects here. These are just auxiliary effects. I don't want you to worry too much about those. I am going to show you what they do, though. But we're just worried about this black space here. This is our rack. This is where we create instruments or utilities or effects that then play. Now, what we're not going to pay much attention to, but we will point out, is the sequencer. That is down the bottom here. Basically, this is where you would sequence everything and tell stuff to unmute or mute, or tell this knob to twist, or tell these buttons to switch, sliders to slide, all sorts of wonderful things it can do. We're not too worried about it. What I am worried about is just, so this doesn't get too hectic, I'm just putting this on loop so that it loops in between these two bars here. But that's all I'm really worried about with the sequencer. I'm just going to get rid of it for the moment. What do we need to know down the bottom here, though, is just the BPMs. So we're at 111 BPM at the moment, beats per minute. Do we need to worry or start changing the timing? No. We're going to stick with 4/4. Everything else, not too worried about. And up the top, we have our mixer. If you have two monitors, the best thing you can do is pop this mixer out, put it over on the other screen, and that way you can monitor it all the time. At the moment, there's not much in here because we don't have any channels created yet. So as the different audio channels are created, it'll create a mixing channel for us. So we're worried about these two for the moment. On the left, we've just got basically the Explorer, so it helps find the stuff. As you do find stuff, do put it in your favorites down here. It is really handy just to quickly get to things like my samples, my MIDI files, you know, my Rex files, everything like that. So let's get into creating something. We're first off going to create a Rex loop sampler. So it's just going to loop the same thing around and around playing Rex files. How to do that, we're going to right click in the black space. We could also click add device or come over here and add an instrument. Really, it doesn't matter. Let's go to instruments though, and it's a Dr. Octo Rex loop player. And there it is, created in the rack, given its own channel. It's created a channel up here in the mixer, and just for convenience, down the sequencer, it's given us a sequence as well, automatically. So, doesn't have anything loaded into it. Depending on how you set Reason up, you may actually have things loaded in, and if you push run, you'll actually start hearing sound right now. But I've hit run, nothing is actually playing, so that's not going to be too helpful for us. Now, it's got enough slots to be able to play up to 8 loops, not at the same time, you can just switch in between them. We're only worried about playing one loop though, so we're going to click in the black space under number 1. Make sure we got number 1 selected because that's the one we want to play. I've already hit run, and we're going to click browse. That's going to put us over here into the browser and able for us to load the Rex into the looper. Now, if you don't have a whole bunch of Rex files like I conveniently do, like these magnificent bass techno loops, ooh, bassy. You're not in total strife. It's okay. You've still got some stuff to work with. It's all in the factory sounds, and you will have this refill. It'll be up here for you. And if you look here, you've got a whole bunch of different Rex files. So if we go into the drum loops, got a bunch of different ones here. Look, there's even some techno ones here, and we can load these in. If I hit run, they'll start playing. Now, of course, that sounds a bit slow, and if you look in the list here, it says 125. That means that it was designed to be played at 125 beats per minute. So let's put up the tempo. Fantastic. Bit old school for my liking. Some of these Rex files have been here for years, since version 1 of Reason, so compressed enough. So you've got stuff to work with if you don't own any Rex files. You can actually get sample packs from even the Reason shop will sell sample packs. Sample Magic, I think, is another one. I think they've got a subscription service now or something, where you can actually get Rex files or WAV files. We're worried about Rex files, where you can build up a library of different samples. Are they handy to have? Yeah, I get Rex files even still because I find they're good for inspiration. I use them for different things I'm not good at, like percussive top drum lines. Now I've got my own little sample pack here that I got. It's analog and modular techno. Let's open this up, and we're going to use some of these samples, the Rex files, and let's start ourselves with a bass. Now what I really like about these sample packs is the fact they come with MIDI. So say you like this bass line, but you don't like that reverb, like it's got a heavy reverb to it, or you don't like the sound, well, that's fine. It's actually in here. You've actually got the MIDI notes here for that bass line, and I can load that into the sequencer, and let's import it, And there it is there. There's the MIDI notes for it. And I can actually change the instrument and play it. At the moment it's a piano. I can change that instrument around though, and actually change that. But I'm not too worried about that at the moment. Let's just find a bass line that we really like and make ourselves a simple song. Not really liking that. Let's go back to browse. Pretty groovy. Now it's saying these are best played at 124 beats per minute. That doesn't really matter. I guess we could slow it down to 124, but I'd probably actually speed a lot of these up. Now these actually give you the key as well and tell you what key they are. That's pretty cool. That's nice and simple. Key of G. I think I'm going to go with that for the moment. Now, something just to remember with Rex files, if I click out of this and go back into it, like I haven't got this Dr. X selected at the moment. And now it's auto playing the actual sample over here. And I can turn that off if I want. But see how it doesn't say load anymore, it says create. So if I actually hit create, it will create a whole new Rex player for me with another bass line. So just make sure that when you are loading or wanting to change the sample, you go back here, go back to browse, and now it has load down here instead, and then you can change the sample. Another way to do it is to just bring up the list in the thing here and do it that way. So this is pretty cool. What do we need to go with it though? I think we need ourselves a drum machine or some drums. Now what I could do is add some more. I've actually got drum loops here as well, but that's a bit boring. Let's build our own drum line, and we're going to do that by either clicking in here or going up to instruments and selecting ourselves a Redrum drum computer. Create. And now I've got myself a drum machine. It has a line sequencer. It's pretty easy to learn. Here are our different sounds up here. So it can have up to 10 sounds, and then here's our sequence down here, and this tells us when to play them. So you can either load up a whole kit. So this is, for instance, like a hip-hop kit, which will load every sound for us. Or we can load each sound individually. And you can change the sounds around as you feel fit, just by pushing up or down or opening up the folder. So let's open up the folder and find ourselves a nice kick. I got this Thomas Penton kick, bunch of drums. It's got all these different types of drums. If I go to kick drums, it's got, I think 276 different kick drums. So all I need to do is go through and find the one that I really like. I think 12's a good one. Let's go with 13. So I'm going to pull that over here, put that in here. We've now got a kick. Now, how can I get it to play? Well, if I hit run here, let's see how this red light's now moving. And we can just have this kick drum selected, and wherever we put it, it'll start playing. Wonderful. Now let's say that you want more than 16 beats. Well, you could go up to all the way up to 64 beats. But let's put 32 beats in. That's 2 bars. So 32 beats. Then use this to step up to those beats there. And we'll put those beats in. And at the end, we'll have a double beat. So when it runs, It'll run through the first line, then the second line, then go back to the start again. Now, let's say I don't like this kick. Well, there's a lot of things I can do with this kick. I can adjust the pitch of it. Cut the length of it. Change the velocity so it's harder hitting. And then also change the kick. Ooh, heavy. Now, let's hit play and actually loop this around and have both the Rex player and the drum machine playing together. Wonderful. Well, I think that needs like a clap of snare, so I'm going to go over here, push select, and we're going to find ourselves a snare drum now. Let's see if I can find something. That sounds alright. We could also add some hi-hats. And we can select softer types of hits or hard hits. I usually only use the medium and soft, and for hi-hats, let's just go across the whole line. Keeping it pretty simple here. No rhythms or anything using our hard hats today. We're gonna shorten the length of this hi-hat. And we'll just pan that over to the right, pan this over to the left a tiny bit, just making it a bit more dynamic. One thing I sometimes do just to make the drums a bit more dynamic is just don't have a hi-hat where the drum is. You can hardly tell the difference sometimes. You will when you EQ though. Alright, well that's pretty simple. I'm pretty happy with that though. We're keeping it simple today. Now, one thing we do want to do, we want to add some effects to that. And there's two ways of doing it. One way of doing it is using the auxiliary effects up here. And you can change these auxiliary effects as well. We're just going to keep them as is today. Or you can add effects to the actual instrument. The good thing about auxiliary effects is they'll work across both tracks. So let's say up in here, first of all, we can mute the instruments and just bring on one at a time. And even turn them down, so we don't have to try and talk over the top. But we're going to add a bit of reverb to this, and we can just do that by using this auxiliary effect that's already here, just by turning it on. Now, if you've got your reverb turned up above 50%, you're doing something wrong. You don't need that much reverb. You only need slight reverb. There's also delays. Again, you don't need much delay if you are going to use it. Wonderful. You can even do that to the bass line. Ooh, punchy. Give it a bit of fuzz. Make the drums a bit more punchy. Wonderful. So that's one way of quickly adding effects to all of your tracks, just by having the auxiliary tracks. And they're the effects that are down here. Like here is the reverb that we added. There's the delay that we added. And you can change those if you want, just by opening them up and loading in different ones. Or by adding to that rack and adding more effects for like slot 7 and 8. Whatever you want. But you can also add effects to the actual drum machines, to the instruments themselves. And to do that, you just right click on the instrument, go to effects, and let's add ourselves module effect. And what I'm going to do with this, now I am going to sidechain, but using this, don't worry if you don't know what sidechaining is. It's basically just going to give this pumping sort of feel to it. But instead of using a compressor to do it, I'm going to use this effect, because it adds other little elements as well. So it's making it pump a bit more, and then if you put the beat over the top, makes it a bit more pumpy. Alright, well this is pretty cool, but I think we need some more percussion. Let's add some more percussion. We'll go to browse. Go to percussion loops. Let's see if we can find something that works. I like this on the bass. We can turn that down a bit. Let's just add some reverb to that. And a warm echo. We could also add an effect. And we could put a I don't know. Let's add its own reverb. Don't need that much reverb. Let's find a nice plate. First plate. Yeah, that'll do. Well, that's all good and wonderful. What can we do now? So I've built up my song. It's already got the drums and the bass, and it's sounding pretty good. And I haven't needed to use the sequencer at all. Now we're going to add a synth. So we can do that either or way. We could open up a synth here, or we can go up to instruments and actually look at what we've got. Let's find ourselves a good little synthesizer that we can use. Now, if you do have access to packs, these are the sound packs that comes with Reason. I recommend using these. These have really good synth sort of sounds, and you can find something really, really cool in here. What is chorded plucks? think I could use this pack with this song. Not sure. We'll give it a go. So let's install it. And then go open and reason. So instead of selecting one instrument, I'm going to select one of these. And, oh, it's already selected it for me. Put it in the thing. And this is a combinator. So it has a whole bunch of instruments all mixed together into one. Now, it's set to C minor at the moment. And our bass line is G. So we're just going to change it back to G. And let's see where we go. It may already have a pattern in here with some of these. No. Now, I don't need my keyboard to play it. We can use the sequencer if we really had to. Draw ourselves some blocks and use the keyboard, and then draw in the what we wanted here. We could do that, or you could use your MIDI keyboard, play along and find something that works. But we're going to control it via a player. I'm going to put a bassline generator. Let's put it on top. Now we've got some sound. Now let's change this, come down to G. And by moving these, we can get something a bit more complex. Minding that at all. Oh, look at that. We made a full loop with all of our different elements, and it was pretty easy. Didn't need a MIDI keyboard. Didn't need to use the sequencer, and kept it all pretty simple. That wasn't too hard at all. What I like about Reason is it's good for experimenting and playing around, and just having a bit of fun. All of the instruments I've used today come with the full version of Reason. You can get other stuff that is third party. I do recommend getting that sort of stuff. Let's go over a few other little things before we go, just so you can have some fun playing around. First of all, let's look at the sequencer. And what you could do with the sequencer is you can, as I said, you can adjust all of the knobs and stuff. Now, it doesn't matter what happens. If I hit play, I've set these instruments up to just play. So these are going to play regardless. And if I want to turn them off and on, I can do that via this. This has already got a bit of reverb. Let's give it a bit of crunch. One thing I might want to do though is adjust the filter of this instrument. So this is a fun knob to play around with. At about that point there. So what I might do is we can right click on this knob and adjust it using the sequencer. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to draw a line in the frequencer knob parameter down here. Put myself a box. Oh. And then we're going to put a dot. The white line here is showing us where it is on here at the moment, which is quite low. We don't want to go too much lower than that, so we might start it up here And then at the halfway point, we might build it up and then come back down. So it's not a static sort of sound, it's moving around, and as it gets to here, it's going to loop back because I've got the loop on. It's a bit lower. So it loops back perfectly. So that might be something that you want to do with the sequencer while you're practicing to do these loops. Now you might be wondering, now that I've pulled out the sequencer, how do you sequence stuff? Well, you could do it by switching mutes and unmutes off and things like that. Or you can do it by going to the instrument, and making sure that you've got it selected, and right clicking on it. And if I go to copy loop to track, it will put all the data information that's needed in between where I've put the indicators. So see where I've put the left and right indicators? So let's say I want to go out to 18. I right click, copy pattern to track, and it's put it in for me. Oh, but it's put it all the way out. And then you can copy and paste that data in here as well. So what would happen is if I deleted it from the sequencer here, I would play it, and it would still play, and it would play anyway. Now the reason why it's doing that is because it's this button up here, the enable loop playback. That means that it's going to play regardless. So once you've actually put information into the sequencer, you have to then turn this off, and then what happens is when you push the play button, it won't run. It'll only run it from here now. You can do the same from here as well. You right click, copy pattern to track. There is a better way to do it though, and that's to right click on the pattern, and then you can select where to put what pattern to play. That means that if I want to then make a second pattern that is like a fill, so we could put we'll just make it 16, and what we'll do is we'll have, oh, that didn't work very well. We'll just have a sort of drum roll. And then what I might want to do with that is, for the last part of the bar down here, we can get our razor, cut that, and change that to pattern 2. So it's playing pattern 1, and then when it gets to the end, it plays pattern 2. Now notice that I don't have anything set for this, and it's still just running as I hit on and off. I don't need to change it if I want that running the whole time. So yeah, that's some basic sequencing stuff for you as an added extra. But yeah, all I suggest you do is try Reason out. It's a great program, and if you're new to DAWs and new to making music, then just sort of stick to just simple stuff. Put a bunch of samples in, try to make some a few little melodies over the top of that, try and make some simple drums, and just have some fun. There is other ways of making drums using Reason as well. Don't think this is the only way. You can look into things For instance, if I get a Kong device, and we will just load ourselves a kit, sorry. So it's got all of our things. We can go to players and put what we call a beat map in. And what this beat map will do is play automatic patterns depending on where it is in the map. And there's different ways, different pattern types that you can choose from as well. So you can have a bit of fun experimenting with that sort of stuff as well. You could also create yourself a when you're creating yourself a synth, have a look at these players, because there's some fantastic things that this this thing can do. For instance, you can have it playing chords. So I just press one note in and it'll play a chord for me and keep me within the scale. So let's say that I go to E. Doesn't matter which button I push, it'll keep me in the correct scale. And be playing 3 notes. We can go up to 4 notes, 5 notes, whatever. And then on top of that, we may want to add an arpeggiator. And so as we're playing stuff, it's turning it into nice funky patterns for us. And that's what I love about Reason, is the fact that you can really play around with things. I mean, you could even then go and add, go all out, go crazy, and add yourself a polystep sequencer as well. And at this point, I'm not even touching any buttons. Till next time, have a good one, guys.